Hi, I'm going to give you some tips for getting rare in Animal Jam in 2025. Number 1, knowing your worths and understanding high versus low demand. So a lot of you are probably coming back to Animal Jam after a very long time, and things have changed drastically since then. There's things that have really increased in worth, and there's things that have also really decreased in worth. And for understanding the changing worths of things, both how they've changed up until this point and also how they will continue to change into the future, I really suggest that you utilize the worth wikis, both the mainstream one and then also the collector's wiki. The wikis can help you understand the current worth of popular items like den betas and spikes. And for those of you who haven't played in a while and have a particularly old account, you might also have a lot of items, both clothing and den items, that have completely skyrocketed in worth. And it can be the most unexpected items ever. So please check everything, see if it has a page on the worth wikis. A lot of Animal Jam Discords also have item tracking, so they'll have dedicated Discord channels for tracking the current worths of very high value items in the game. With that said, even if you are in possession of an item that is listed as being very high worth on the collector's wiki, it's very important to also understand the concepts of high and low demand. A lot of these really rare collector's wiki items are also really obscure, so not many people are looking for them or even know about them, and so this will probably have a negative impact on your trades. You might be waiting a very long time to be able to trade off some of these items for like the value that they're listed at, and sometimes people get really desperate and sick of waiting to trade off these items, and so what they'll do to make up for that is that they will take the item for lower than what it's listed as. So for example, imagine that you have a collector's wiki item that is worth a red long. You've been trying to trade it off for like 3 months with no success whatsoever. You've been posting advertisements on the wiki and in Discord servers to no avail, and eventually you settle on trying to look for a decent long, so like a pink or a blue long or even a yellow. On that note, it's very important to know as both a new or returning player, when someone is trying to trick or convince you into trading for an extremely low demand item that's listed on the wiki as having a high worth. So I think on the collector's wiki, most pages have an estimate of how high or low the current demand for that item is, whereas the regular worth wiki won't always have that disclaimer. If you're really unsure, I would suggest asking around in a few Animal Jam Discord servers. Most of them will have like a worth channel where you can ask people about the worth or demand for certain items, and then that brings me into my next tip. So my tip number 2 is engage with the community outside of the game itself. Animal Jam Discord servers are absolutely great for so many reasons. They do regular giveaways, host fashion shows, and if you give yourself a certain role and get pinged every time that somebody's hosting a fashion show, and there's some like really great prizes. Like I won 3 den betas in a fashion show like a week ago. There's also so many people in game who advertise their YouTube live streams where they do regular giveaways of spikes or den betas, usually spikes, and you can get yourself like both short and long wristbands. Sometimes they even give away like solids or party hats. I actually won a solid not too long ago in an Alien Jenna live stream. In recent years, AJHQ has started giving away limited numbers of contest items, which are usually brightly colored, rare tagged, non-member recolors of pre-existing items in the game. They have a dedicated worth wiki page, and they are usually really high in worth. AJHQ gives these items away to Jambassadors, who then give it away to people in their dens who are like participating in fashion shows or wheel spin giveaways. And they're always great to participate in because it gives a lot of people a chance to own an item that is like almost guaranteed to skyrocket in worth. Communities outside of the game are also really great for posting trading advertisements. If you're wanting to reach like a large number of people, or if you're looking for a specific item, or if you're wanting to trade away your specific items, you can post your advertisements on the wiki page for those items, or you can post them in Discord servers. This is kind of a matter of personal opinion, but for tip number 3, I highly recommend that you don't buy den betas for diamonds unless you're really desperate for den betas. The main reasons for this being, 1, they are actually actually way easier than some people think to get in the Forgotten Desert if you're willing to put the work in. Like in the span of 2 days, I probably played the Forgotten Desert maybe 50 times. I got 12 both member and non-member den betas, which would roughly be the worth of a bad to decent long collar. The other reason being that, now this is a little bit more complicated, but stay with me. In the case that you're trying to trade up for spikes, especially wristbands and short spiked collars, if you calculate how many diamonds you're spending on both member and non-member den betas, even at their lowest possible price in the current economy, so like 18 for member den betas and 28 for non-members, you are usually massively overspending compared to if you buy those spikes directly for a good and reasonable price, especially since the diamond worth of den betas seems to be really inflating at the moment. Like, I've seen people trying to sell non-member den betas for 35 diamonds, which is just insane. If this still sounds too confusing, please don't worry, I can try and simplify it for you. So let's assume that I want to buy mixed den betas, which is like both member and non-member, so that I can trade up for a purple short spiked collar. The lowest listed diamond worth on the wiki at the moment for member den betas is 18, and the lowest for non-members is 28. The listed worth for a purple short right now is 7 den betas. So if you didn't know already, non-member den betas are considered slightly higher value than member den betas. They are counted as 1.5 den betas, whereas member den betas are counted as just 1. So if we want an even number of member to non-member den betas to trade for our purple short, counting non-members as 1.5, we would have 4 member den betas and 2 non-member den betas for 7 den betas total. I'm also just going to write down how many diamonds it would cost to buy each of these den betas. Now, if I add up how many diamonds I spent buying those den betas, it would amount to 72 for the members and 56 for the non-members. So that would be a total of 128 diamonds. If I check the diamond worth of the purple short spiked collar, it's still within the listed worth, but it's on the higher end of things. So this means I could have found a purple short priced anywhere between 105 and 127 diamonds, and I would have spent less than buying the den betas directly. If this isn't enough to convince you already, you have to keep in mind that the price of den betas is inflating. Most people are selling theirs for either 20 or over or 30 or over. Again, it's only a small discrepancy, but it adds up if this is something you regularly do to trade your way up in the game. This also applies to spiked wristbands. The only time it doesn't really matter is if you're buying den betas for long spikes, but even then I would kind of discourage it because of how easily you can farm them through the Forgotten Desert, which brings me into my next tip. Tip number 4, grind the Forgotten Desert like your life depends on it, bro. It is quite literally the only way in the game right now to generate den betas and spike wristbands. You can even hit the jackpot and get wood floors, which are worth a good short collar, or camis frogs, which are worth bad to decent short collars. Do it multiple times a day if you're really dedicated and you have the time for it. You can also keep a lot of the items that you don't want so that you can recycle them for gems, so it's actually a good way to gem farm. Or alternatively, you can sell a lot of the unwanted clothing items that you get, or den items, for diamonds in your shops. Another thing that makes grinding the Forgotten Desert so easy is understanding the patterns in which the gem locations can spawn. There's 2 really good maps that show possible gem locations. It can usually be a mix of the 2. So for example, sometimes you'll get an iteration of the adventure where the silver crystals and the dark blue crystals will be the version A, and then the green and the yellow crystals will be the version B. I'm actually considering making a dedicated video about this because I know some little tips and tricks and methods on how to immediately tell which gem locations have spawned in your iteration of the adventure, and also some quick routes to do to be able to complete it as efficiently as quickly as possible. Maps come in really handy when you're in a situation where there's only 1 crystal left and you have no idea where it is. You can just check which version of the spawning pattern that you have, and then just go around and search for all of the possible locations. I was also thinking of making a slightly improved version of this map because sometimes the locations are a little bit off from where they are pinpointed on the map. But overall, if you are a member and you are looking to increase your rarity, Grind the Forgotten Desert, you won't regret it. It's also great fun. Just put on some music, mindlessly search for the gems and use the maps, and you'll be rare in no time. Last but not least, and one of the important things to remember as you're working your way up in Animal Jam, don't be stingy and ignore people who are. Don't give them your time, don't give them your items. It's honestly best to just ignore them and move on. I understand the Animal Jam trading can be really dry at times because of how picky people are and the inflation in the in-game economy, but despite this, I know for a fact that there's still people who trade reasonably. They want to give you good deals instead of things being a really one-sided transaction. This also goes for shops. Please don't overprice your stuff and inform yourself of how other people are pricing certain items. Check the wikis, check the Discord servers. And I know it can be tempting seeing an item that you really want, but if it's overpriced, please, I encourage you to not give in to the temptation. There's always a better deal waiting for you if you have patience and if you look in the right sort of places. And this is quite literally the only thing that we can do as players collectively to stop inflation. Because the only way that inflation begins is by people overpricing their items, and then players consistently beginning to buy and trade items at this price or worth until it becomes the new norm. A lot of people in this game who are rare have huge egos, which is funny considering this is just an online children's game. Realistically, very few people are going to give a shit in the real world if you have 20 solids and every variant of headdress. And even more so if you just bought them for real life money from sketchy people who probably sourced the items from hit accounts instead of actually, like, you know, making the effort to work towards the items. And I guess this counts as an extra tip. I would strongly discourage buying Animal Jam items for real life money. Listen, I get it's tempting because most of us are adults now with our own financial freedom and sources of income, but it's not a good idea for many reasons other than just being against TOS. Think about it, these items have no official monetary value. No one can compensate you for any items or real life money that you lose as a result of hacking, scamming, or Animal Jam terminating your account randomly and without reason. You're totally at the mercy of AJHQ. Ultimately, I see it as letting a virtual world game impact your real life financial circumstances with no possible way to receive reparations for anything that you lose, so many people, myself included, deem it far too risky. Okay, well, I think that covers everything. Bye!